Welcome, everyone. Look, whether you're behind the bar physically mixing the drinks or you're in the back office managing the beverage program, this explainer is going to fundamentally change how we approach zero-proof drinks. We are diving deep into a brilliant field guide called Nothing Removed to figure out exactly how luxury venues are completely redefining the non-alcoholic bar. So grab a notebook and let's get right into it.
Now, for our veteran bartenders out there, this first point is going to resonate deeply. For pretty much all of cocktail history, the non-alcoholic option was, quite frankly, an apology. You know exactly what I mean. It was usually this cloyingly sweet, neon-colored fruit juice concoction just kind of shoved down to the very bottom of the menu. Everyone basically understood it was a lesser thing. But here's the reality we are stepping into today. That world is gone. And honestly, good riddance. The era of the apology drink is completely over.
So, here's our blueprint for today. We're going to hit the new zero-proof standard, replacing what ethanol did, the working palate, elevating golf classics, and finally, building a profitable program.
Section 1, the new zero-proof standard. It is time we officially shift our mindset from apology to pure craft.
It's really fascinating to look at luxury resorts, especially places in the Middle East, where the entire beverage program is non-alcoholic. Think about that for a second. There is zero spiritless to lean on. Every single drink has to earn its place strictly on flavor, texture, aroma, and theater alone. And what's absolutely amazing is that this total constraint is actually what produces the most innovative, headline-worthy work. Because when the bar is the main event, you simply can't fake it.
And if you're wondering why this matters on a global scale, the data is just staggering. The proportion of adults who drink alcohol has literally fallen to its lowest level in almost 90 years. What this means for us is that mastering the non-alcoholic craft is no longer just some niche request to appease a couple of guests. It is absolutely central to the future of hospitality. If your zero-proof menu is just an afterthought, your venue is already falling behind.
Section 2, replacing what ethanol did. Let's talk about how we engineer structure without the spirit.
To replace alcohol, we first have to realize just how much invisible heavy lifting ethanol actually does in a glass. I mean, it carries aroma straight to the nose, it adds viscosity in a warming body, it actively suppresses sweetness, and it lengthens the finish of the drink. So when we just remove it, drinks instantly become flat, short, and way too sweet. As modern bartenders, our job is to manually replace every single one of those functions. We're talking hydrosols for aroma, aquafaba or xanthan gum for body, acidity or tannin to dial back that sweetness, and carbonation or large clear ice to create that crucial length.
So the absolutely crucial point here is precision, right? Especially when we talk about acidity. We can't just blindly rely on lemon or lime juice to do all the work anymore. To replicate that complex bite of alcohol, we need to dial in specific isolated acids. Citric gives us that clean, sharp lemon sourness. Malic brings a bright, green apple crispness. Lactic provides this beautiful, soft, dairy-like roundness, and tartaric gives us that gripping grape and wine bite. Dosing with these isolated acids lets us pinpoint the exact level and type of sourness a drink needs to actually feel complete.
Section 3, the working palate. Let's look at how we need to group these new ingredients by their function rather than just treating them like a flavor catalog.
Every time you reach for a bottle, you need to ask yourself, what structural role is this playing? Are we using verjuice juice for acid and structure so the drink doesn't read as flat? Are we using hibiscus or a heavily steeped tea to bring bitter and tannic qualities, that grown-up edge? Do we need saffron for aromatics or gum arabic to put back the body and texture that we lost when we took the alcohol away? Or, hey, maybe we need fermented elements like kombucha to bring in some living complexity. Literally, every ingredient has to earn its keep structurally.
And this really captures the beautiful duality of the modern zero-proof bar. Because on one hand, we have intense scientific precision. We're weighing out specific acid powders and saline solutions drop by drop. But on the other hand, we have this incredible living complexity. In-house fermentation jars just bubbling away with kombucha and water kefir. Look, fermentation is basically the closest non-alcoholic analog we have to barrel aging. It creates deep, funky, complex flavors over time, instead of just assembling them in the glass. A truly great bar utilizes both the lab and the larder.
And speaking of the larder, when we look at the native Gulf pantry, things like saffron, dates, cardamom, and rose, it becomes super clear that regions like the Middle East have a massive advantage here. They've got a centuries-old head start using these exact native ingredients to provide the bitterness, the tannin, and the deep aroma that Western non-alcoholic programs are desperately trying to replicate right now. It's incredibly exciting to realize that the structural foundation for great zero-proof drinks has actually been here all along.
Section 4, Elevating golf classics. Let's see what happens when centuries of tradition combine with modern bar technique.
Let's start with a really evocative classic, the jalab. For those who don't know, this is a Levantine and Gulf icon built on date syrup and grape molasses, usually perfumed with rosewater and topped off with pine nuts. What's incredible about the jalab is that it naturally carries the exact tannin, acidity, and depth that this entire field guide is working so hard to engineer. The structure is literally already built into the tradition.
So how do we take that and elevate it for a high-end luxury setting? Well, you start with that classic build of date syrup and grape molasses, but then you clarify it. You lightly force carbonate it to create a super refined, sparkling aperitif. Or, if you want to really push the boundaries, you fat wash the liquid with toasted pine nut oil. That amplifies the texture into something genuinely luxurious, completely justifying a premium price point on your menu.
Let's look at another amazing example, the spiced Gawa highball. This takes the unmistakable, highly ceremonial signature of Arabic coffee and entirely reframes it as a long, dry, beautifully contemporary serve. You cold brew the coffee, add some cardamom syrup and a saffron tincture. Then, crucially, you season it with saline to round out those flavors. Pour it over a single, large, crystal-clear cube, top it with soda, and express some orange oil over the glass. It honors its heritage, but it's built with pure contemporary technique.
Section 5. Building a profitable program. Because creating these drinks is art, but turning them into a strategy with healthy margins, that is the real business. This insight right here is absolutely crucial for beverage directors and managers. The expensive line is the non-alcoholic distillate. The margin lives in the house-made components. Listen, if we just buy premium zero-proof spirits and pour them, our margins are going to suffer. The true secret to a profitable dry bar lies in the prep. We're talking house-made shrubs, custom spiced syrups, and clarified tonics. Taking relatively inexpensive raw materials and pairing them with a little bench time in the prep kitchen, that is what creates massive value on your final menu.
Now here is a fascinating secret weapon for your whole team, the 10 to 20 rule. Using a 10 to 20% saline solution is near universal in good non-alcoholic drinks. A few drops do work in a zero-proof glass that salt just never does in a classic cocktail. It suppresses bitterness, it violently amplifies the aroma, and it adds this savory fullness that literally tricks the palate into feeling the weight of the missing alcohol. Whatever you do, do not skip the saline.
But a quick warning for the managers out there keeping an eye on compliance, this is the number you need to watch, less than 0.5%. If your team is running an in-house fermentation program, making kombuchas, water kefirs, or tepache, these live ferments can naturally carry trace amounts of alcohol. So in strict dry venues, rigid testing is an absolute must to ensure the beverage program stays safely on the right side of local regulations.
Ultimately, a proper dry venue doesn't just throw a dozen sweet mocktails onto a list and call it a day. The menu needs to be mapped with the full architecture of a traditional bar. You need aperitifs to start the meal, long, refreshing highballs for casual sipping, and complex, spirit-forward stirred drinks to end the night. When you design a complete range like this, the venue feels entirely complete and intentional.
Which brings us to the ultimate goal of everything we've covered today, the specific acids, the ferments, the elevated classics, the precise saline dosing. It all leads to this final question for your team. Are you ready to pour a drink so complex, so thoughtfully structured, and so incredibly interesting that your guest never once asks where the gin went? Take these techniques back to your bars, and I guarantee you're going to be answering that question with a resounding yes. Thanks for learning with me on this explainer. Now get back out there and build something extraordinary.